Welcome to this session where we'll be focusing on how we can integrate iPad before, during and after sessions with students. This session will draw on a lot of the learning about apps that we've explored in previous sessions. You may find it useful to go back through the various collections of videos that we've posted on FST Mobile Learning on YouTube to refresh your memory of the apps we've previously covered. This session really focuses on how we can create a workflow where we have a series of apps and resources that link together to form a clear teaching outcome. On the screen are the 5 priorities identified by FST as key indicators of success as part of this mobile learning project. So in brief, we'll be looking at how we could create a workflow and what are the key elements of designing a workflow before, during and after, and identify suitable apps that we could use along the way. It will be useful to consider SAMR, the model created by Dr. Ruben Puentedura, as we go through this session. We're not just looking at how we can merely substitute existing practice and existing tools, but how we can augment the learning experience using a core of useful apps. It might well be that as a result of this, we look at modifying the actual nature of the task itself because of what we now know is possible using mobile learning. As always, we have an essential question to focus our minds. So for this session on workflows and integrating iPad, how can mobile technology enable learning to become a more fluid, two-way process? It's important that we consider this in the light of learning futures and the emphasis on more inquiry-based learning. On your screen now are 5 bullet points which form the basis of feedback from academics in previous sessions. The first bullet point places the emphasis on sharing of the objectives and making sure that the final outcome is made clear to students. There's a lot of talk at the moment about flipped learning and how we can use time outside of the session to redefine what happens in session. As always with technology, we have 24/7 access, not just to information via the internet and using library searches, but we have access to the tools to create ways of showing our understanding. As mentioned before, there is a move towards a more inquiry-based form of learning. And while we don't need mobile technology to develop a more inquiry-based form of learning, it certainly can enable a different way of thinking and enhance the learning experience. On the one hand, it could be that using mobile technology enables students to feel more engaged in the learning process. It could also be that because of the nature of the apps that we are using on our mobile devices, it does create a more critical way of approaching the learning experience. And certainly some apps are so useful on an informative level that they are able to open doors to deeper lines of inquiry and deeper learning. And as we've seen before, the iPad in particular is a very enabling tool, and there are plenty of apps that we can use that encourage a spirit of collaboration, that students don't need to just learn on their own all the time. They could devote some time to learning on their own and then share that learning with other people, either another student or a group of students, or it could be that they actually share it with the academics themselves. We'll be using the core of apps that are currently on your screen. We've explored Nearpod, Padlet, Explain Everything in previous sessions, but also having a look at apps such as Numbers, which allow us to create checklists and forms, and we also have Google Forms, and we may well be looking to storing the work in Google Drive. We'll be referring to some mind mapping apps which are very useful for helping students to organize their thinking, looking at apps that will help students to make effective notes, either in text, graphical or audio format, and then exploring some apps which can be used for more collaborative purposes. When you're ready, why not watch the next video in this series where we'll be exploring the nature of the workflows.